Nathália, you are next. And Nathália, for everyone's information, is a freelance journalist and an anti-imperialist political analyst. So, Nathália, floor is yours.
Thank you so much. I'm so sorry for missing the colleagues who are speaking here first. I just got back from London from the Latin American conference, so I'm a bit jet-lagged, even though it's the same country, but anyway. I would like to talk basically about the process. I saw Francisco talk about like the depolarization of Brazil, but I think it's important to talk about the real process that many might think the word it's a bit strong, but we have to talk about like the Nazification of Brazil, because the level of radicalization of Bolsonaro's most like extremist supporters that like people saw, mostly the international media saw in Brasilia with the attacks to the governmental buildings, it's much bigger than that. And what happened in Brazil was not an isolated event. It was not something to copying the United States, like the corporative international media was trying to do, like some sort of like wrongful comparison. It's too simplistic to put it in that way. What we had was a coordinated attack in several states of the Union, which of course in Brasilia, it culminated in the governmental buildings, but we had attacks against oil refineries. We have been having road blockings since the elections, including by the state traffic police, the federal, road police that was helping to block roads in order to facilitate vote suppression within the election. And now we are having those super radicalized people doing those coordinated attacks in states, because until the fatidic day of January 8th, they thought they could get away with that. They thought we would accept that. But Lula had a great response, a stern response to the attacks, saying that people would be punished, but most importantly, those financing their activities would be punished. So far, the police is still analyzing, still investigating the people involved in, but the government, the Supreme Justice system in Brazil already blocked over 60 million reais from groups of businessmen and companies, majority connected to agribusiness, gun industry, that were financing the radicalized people to commit those terrorist attacks. So I think it's very important for people to realize that what we have in Brazil in terms of like polarization is much more deep, and it's much more serious than just a bunch of like deluded people that think that we are going back to whatever time they think we are getting back, probably Middle Ages or something. But what we are having there is serious. We have Bolsonaro brought in the worst we had in Brazil in terms of like political violence, the social and the economical conservative policies. They are so ingrained now in part of the population that will be a challenge to change things. So I think that the fact that Lula has been doing speeches different from what people might say, that, oh, I'm doing something for the working class, or trying to like segment speeches. Lula is saying, no, I'm here to work for everybody. I'm here to be the president of Brazil. Brazil is lots of people, even though we know Lula has a commitment with the working class. But the speech of unification is very important at the moment. And this is not just use it in terms of like internal politics, but we are seeing now in terms of like the external, the foreign relations of Brazil. Bolsonaro was proud to say that with him in government, Brazil had become a pariah in international relations. And now, of course, Lula said that Brazil is back. And this is something that he has been saying for so long in terms of Brazil was always a diplomatic ace in several important issues, not just in Latin America, but also in the Middle East, in Asia, and in the relations. He acts like a buffer in the relations between the global North and the global South in so many occasions. And I think we are going to see that now. And one of the biggest examples that I can give is Lula announcing that he would refuse the request from the German government of sending military weapons to Ukraine, because Brazil could not break its neutrality, because Brazil doesn't want to take part in a war. Because mainly what Lula says is we need to seek peace, not more war. We have like bigger problems to face right now. And this is very reminiscent of the speeches that Fidel Castro used to make at the no-alignment movement assemblies many, many years ago. So I think it's very important to see that Lula is working to unify Latin America. And again, Lula is working to strained the relationships between Brazil and the African countries, which is extremely important as well, which was something that we saw in his previous governments. And of course, it had been abandoned by Bolsonaro, who, by the way, put Brazil in problems with several African countries because he boosted the dodgy activities of fundamentalist evangelical churches in Brazil and Africa, and this is going to change, thankfully. And most importantly, and this was something that Lula said on his inauguration speech, it was like Brazil would change its politics with United States and Europe, saying that they would have agreements, that they would like do business and have like a cordial relationship, but with respect, that Brazil would not be not yet to be treated again as a colony. We were a sovereign nation and we deserve respect. And this is important for Latin America because we have been seeing that for many years, that type of colonialist mindset was back in the treatment of the nations, especially by, I know United States, it's a moot point to talk about that, but the EU with their agreement regarding their agreement with the Mercosur and that they said for many years that they had issues regarding the foreign policies or the environmental policies, but we know in fact that was because of like the pressure of like agribusiness. And I think this is going to change. And most importantly, we have to be very mindful that even though Lula just started in an extremely a fragmented country with a radicalized population, something that we have never experienced in the history of the country, the level of political radicalization that we are seeing right now, he's already doing things to and trying to make amends of all the biggest mistakes or crimes that Bolsonaro committed in terms of like stopping, terminating the gun laws that Bolsonaro, the flexibilization of gun laws that Bolsonaro had been allowed in his government, the raise of like the salary of the teachers in Brazil. He's already talking about programs for developing poor communities as well, supporting of education, supporting of indigenous nations, because recently in Brazil, we were struck with the news, well, for some was news, but for many was not, that Bolsonaro policies against the indigenous were genocidal, and the Yanomami community is really struggling. They have lost over 500 children to malnutrition and also to preventable diseases. This was because Bolsonaro basically opened or closed his eyes to the illegal mining activities and cut all the programs that would support indigenous communities. So now we have a lot of housekeeping to do, but even though we have like that hard work of housekeeping, we also like want to put ourselves back on the map. Like Lula said, the world needs to know that Brazil changed its government, and with its new government, all the people that have been forgotten will be attended by us again. Thank you.
I'm Michael Hudson. I'm appearing here for the International Manifesto Group. If you like this video and ones like it, please subscribe. For more information, go to the address on the screen.